Hey everybody, we've talked about mental fitness, the ability to change the way you relate to your thoughts and your inner experiences, your feelings, your emotions. The first step to improve your emotional fitness, your mental fitness, is to understand the supercomputer that's inside your head, understand the hardware that you're dealing with. And for this purpose, I think it's useful to use the hand model that I first saw from Dan Siegel. I'm going to present it to you the way that I present it to my paying clients. So the human brain is basically three brains stacked on top of one another. When all three parts of those brains are working well together, life goes pretty smooth. When they're not working well together, that's when we have predictable challenges. We have problems with self-control, we have problems with emotional regulation. So it's important to understand those three parts of the brain and how they work together. So if we use my hand here as a model of the brain, we can imagine that my forearm here represents the spine. As I come up the spine, this first part of my hand, this fleshy part of my hand, is the first brain that evolved in human beings. We can call this set of structures collectively the reptile brain. The reptile brain primarily is involved in survival. So everything we need for survival is either hardwired into this part of the brain or mediated by this part of the brain. From a psychological perspective, this is home of the 5Fs. The 5Fs are fight, flight, freeze. Those are survival responses designed to get us out of perceived danger. Perceived becomes the most important word. Fight, flight, freeze. Foraging, which is the urge to get things we need like food and shelter, pushes us out in the environment to get those things. And then finally fornication, which just is sexual urges, so we get genes into the next generation. All that is being mediated by this very primitive part of the brain. In mammals, there's a second set of structures that evolved. It sits right in the middle of the brain, so you'll hear the term limbic brain or midbrain. These structures, by and large, are responsible for relationships, emotions, and memory. And then if I fold my fingers over like this, so the brain is sitting in my skull, knuckles forward, the fingers will represent the most advanced part of the brain, the cortex. This is the thinking part of the brain, the logical part of the brain, the part of the brain that's responsible for logic, complex thought, language. This is the part of the brain that gives rise to that voice that's on inside your head, the one that's always chattering. You can't turn it off even if you wanted to. We tend to think that that voice is us. It's not. That causes all sorts of confusion for us as human beings and creates all sorts of problems for us. But the main point in understanding the architecture is there's a major design flaw in this brain, and that is whenever there's a conflict between a more recent part of the brain and a more ancient part of the brain, the more ancient one always wins. So once that fight or flight response, which is a reptile response, gets triggered, we flip our lid. The thinking part of our brain gets kicked into the back seat. It continues to run commentary. It thinks it's at the controls, but it's not. The part of the brain that now has emerged to grab the wheel and is at the controls is the reptile brain. The reptile brain only has a few tools at its disposal to try to help you survive, and those tools are fight, flight, freeze. And if you understand that architecture, then everything else we do going forward will make more sense to you. Much